I am Dr. S.D. Ahangar, Senior Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Government College of Education, Srinagar. I am going to deliver a talk on education and social stratification. I have basically divided today's deliberation in 4-5 points, which includes the introduction of social stratification, similarly the concept of social stratification, and some few more points. Education and social stratification, when we talk about differentiation, basically this is the law of nature. True, it is in case of human society. Human society is not homogeneous but heterogeneous. Men, they differ from one another in many aspects. Human beings are equal so far as their bodily structure is concerned, but the physical appearance of individuals, their intellectual, their moral, their philosophical, their mental, their economic, religious, political and other aspects, they are different. We know that no two individuals are exactly alike. Diversity and inequality are inherent in society. Hence, human society is everywhere stratified. We know that all societies arrange their members in terms of superiority, in terms of inferiority, and in terms of what we believe as equality. The vertical scale of elevation that places in stratas or layers is called social stratification. Those in the top stratum have more power, they have more privilege and prestige than those who are there at below or who are there at lower level. We know that societies compare and ranks individuals and groups. Members of a group, they compare different individuals. As when selecting a mate or employing a worker or dealing with a neighbor or developing friendship with an individual, they also compare groups such as castes, such as races, colors, cities, athletic teams. These comparisons are valuations, these are ranks, and when members of a group agree, these judgments are social elevations. We know that all societies differentiate members in terms of roles, and all societies elevate roles differently. Some roles are regarded as more important or socially more valuable than other roles, than other activities. The person who performs the more highly estimate or more highly esteemed or esteemed roles are rewarded more highly. Thus, stratification is simply a process of interactions of differentiation, whereby some people come to rank on higher sides than others. When we conceptually try to understand social stratification. In fact, certain stalwarts in the field of psychology like Ogburn, like Gilbert, like Landberg or Murray, they came to know, they summarized in nutshell that social stratification, it refers to arrangements. It refers to arrangements of any social group or society into a hierarchy of positions that are unequal with regard to power, with regard to property, with regard to social elevation or physical gratification. What has been revealed by the R.W. Murray, he believes that social stratification, it is a horizontal division of society into high and lower social units. So this means that it is a process by which individuals and groups are ranked in a more or less enduring hierarchy of status. We believe as the meaning, as the concept of social stratification. Point 1. Now point 2, universality of social stratification. We know that social stratification is ubiquitous, and in all societies there is social differentiation of the population. Social differentiation of the population by age, by sex, and by personal characteristics. The roles and privileges of children, they differ from those of adults, and those of good hunters or warriors, they differ from those of the ranks and files. It is not customary to speak of a society as stratified if every individual in it has equal chance to succeed or whatever statuses are open. Therefore, strictly speaking, exactly speaking, there are no purely equalitarian societies throughout the world. All societies differing in degrees of stratification. Even Russia, which dreamt of a classless society, could not any more than any other society escape the necessity of ranking, escape the necessity of ranking of people according to their functions. Because the criterion of rank has changed along with what we call as values of society. And we have learned that P.A. Sorokin, a great scholar, he wrote in his book Social Mobility that unstratified societies with real equality of its members is a myth which has never been realized in the history of mankind. Now, social differentiation and social stratification, as it is clear from what I spoke here, all societies exhibit some system of hierarchy whereby its members are placed in positions that are higher or lower, that are superior or inferior in relation to each other. So the two concepts, social stratification, social differentiation, are made use of to refer to such classification or gradation and placement of people in society. Because in differentiation, societies they are based, or society bases the what we believe as on a certain kind of trait, on a certain kind of aspect which may be physical or biological, like skin color, like physical appearance, like age, like gender, man, women, so on and so forth. Social and cultural, such as differences in equities, such as manners, such as values, ideas, ideologies, etc. Thus differentiation, it serves as a sorting process, according to which the people are graded on the basis of roles and statuses. Therefore, stratification, it tends to perpetuate those differences in status, where we can easily say that through this process, people they are fixed in society, they are fixed in structure of the society. In some cases, status, it may sometimes become hereditary, and differentiation, that may be considered the first page proceedings stratification in society, and this is sorted and classified into groups. It does not, however, mean that all differentiation in societies lead to stratification of the society. After this, there is another point which I am going to deliberate here, that is the characteristics of social stratification. My dear friends, great scholar Tumen, he talks about certain important characteristics of social stratification that leads us to understand more and more as far as the process of social stratification is concerned. And he believes, first of all, that social stratification, it is social. Social stratification is social. By this we mean to say that social stratification is social in the sense that it does not represent biologically caused inequalities. Because it is true that such factors as strength, as intelligence, as age, as sex can often serve as the basis on which statuses or stratas are distinguished. But such differences by themselves are not sufficient to explain why some statuses receive more power, why some statuses receive more prestige, and more what is called the value than others. Biological traits, they do not determine a social superiority and inferiority unless they are socially recognized and given importance in the society. For example, the manager in a industry, manager of an industry, he attains a dominant position not by his physical strength, not by his physical appearance, nor by his age, but by having the socially defined status, socially defined trait in that industry. Because his education, his training, his experience, his personality characteristics, etc., are found to be more important than his biological equalities. So, from this point it is clear that this social stratification, it is social in nature. One. Second point, second characteristic of this social stratification is that it is ancient. Social stratification, when we talk about, it is a system that is quite old. That is quite old system, quite old process in societies throughout the world. Because according to historical and archaeological records, stratification was present even in small wandering bands, even in small wandering bands and societies. Age and sex were the main criterion of stratification as far as such societies, such bands are concerned. Women and children last was probably the dominant rule of order, and difference between the rich and the poor, powerful and the humble, free men and the slaves was there in almost in all ancient societies, in all ancient civilizations throughout the world. And ever since the time of Plato, social philosophers have been deeply concerned with the economic, concerned with the social, concerned with the political inequalities. A second, then third point, third characteristic of social stratification is that it is a universal process. By universal process of social stratification, I mean to say that this social stratification system, it is a worldwide phenomenon, and difference between the rich and the poor, between the haves and the have-nots, it is evident everywhere. Even in the non-literate societies, stratification was very much present. As has been said by Pritam Sorokin, all permanently organized groups are stratified. Then one more characteristic, that social stratification, it is in diverse forms. The stratification system, it has been never uniform in all societies. The ancient Roman society was stratified. It was stratified into two stratas, patricians and plebeians. The ancient Aryan society, that was stratified into the Varnas, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, Sudras, and so on. Similarly, the Greek society, that was divided into freemen and slaves. The ancient Chinese societies, that was divided into the Mandarins and the merchants, farmers and soldiers, so on and so forth. And similarly, class and caste, they seem to be general form of stratification to be found in most parts of the modern world. But stratification system, it seems to be much what we call as much more complex in the civilized societies. Another characteristic of social stratification is that it is consequential. By this we mean to say that social stratification has its own consequences, because the most important, the most desired, and often the scarcest thing in human life are distributed unequally because of the stratification. Because of the stratification, the system leads to two main kinds of consequences. One is the lifestyle, another is the life chances. And life chances, it refers to such things as infant mortality. It refers to such things like longevity, like physical and mental illness. Childlessness, it refers to material conflict, separation, divorce, so on and so forth. But lifestyles, it includes such matters as the mode of housing, as the mode of residential area, like urban areas, semi-urban areas, rural areas, towns, cities, so on and so forth. And similarly, one is education also means of recreation and relationship between parents and the children, and the kind of books, magazines, and TV shows to which one is expected or one is exposed one's mode of convenience, so on and so forth. And life chances are more involuntarily, while lifestyles, they reflect differences in preferences and values. So these were certain characteristics of the social stratification. Now one more point, that is functions of social stratification. As far as functions of social stratification are concerned, it serves certain functions. First of all, when we talk about social stratification system, it encourages hard work. One of the main functions of stratification or class stratification is that it is to produce, or it is to induce people to work hard to live up to their values, to their expectations. And those who best fulfill the values of a particular society, they are normally rewarded with greater prestige and greater social acceptance by others. It is known in the society that occupations are ranked higher if their functions are highly important and the required personnel is very secure. And hard work, prolonged training, and heavy burden of responsibilities, they are associated with such what we call as occupational positions. And people undertaking such works are rewarded with money, with prestige, with comforts, etc. Still, we cannot say that all those positions which are regarded are important and are adequately compensated for. So this is one function. Another function of social stratification is that it ensures circulation of elites. To some extent, class stratification, it helps to ensure what is often called the circulation of elite. When a high degree of prestige, comfort, and other rewards are offered for certain positions, there will be some competition for them. There will be some competition between them, and this process of competition helps to ensure that the more efficient people are able to raise to the top, where their ability can be best used, where their work can be best taken into consideration. Similarly, there is third function of social stratification, that social stratification it serves an economic function, like the competitive aspect has a kind of economic function, that it helps to ensure the rational use of available talent, and it also functionally serves to offer differential rewards if the positions at the top are largely ascribed. as it is in case of caste system. Even in caste system, the people at the top can lose their prestige if they fail to maintain certain standards in the society. Hence, differential rewards they provide the incentives for the upper class or upper classes to work at maintaining their positions in the society. Then fourth function of this social stratification, it is that it prevents, what it prevents? It prevents waste of resources. That because the stratification system, when it prevents the waste of secure resources, the men in the elite class, they actually possess secure and socially valued abilities and qualities, whether these are inherent qualities or they are the acquired qualities. Because of their possessions of these qualities, their enjoyment of some privilege such as extra comfort, such as immunity from doing what we call as menial work or functional justified. It becomes the functionally beneficial for the society to work, for the society to make use of their talent without being wasted. For example, if we talk, it would be a waste to pour the resources of society into the training of doctors and engineers and then making them to work as peons and attendants. When one is certain individuals choose and they are trained to certain difficult positions, it would be dysfunctional to waste their what is called time and energy on tasks for which there is enough manpower. Then fifth, this function of the social stratification is that it stabilizes and it reinforces the attitudes and skills. You know that members of a class normally they try to limit their relations. They try to limit their relations to their own classes, because more intimate relationships are mostly found between fellow class members, and even this tendency has its own function. This type of work has its own functions and has its own duty, and it tends to stabilize and reinforce the attitudes and skills that may be the basis for upper class positions. And those people are those who have similar values, those who have similar interests, those who have similar what is called the attitudes. They tend to associate comfortably with one another, and their frequent association itself confirms their common values and interests. Then another characteristic of social function, that is social stratification, that is the social control. Further, when we talk about the this social stratification, functions of social stratification, further to the extent that lower class cultural characteristics are essential to society, because the classes are of course functional. In fact, certain amount of mutual antagonism between social classes is also functional. To some extent, upper class people and lower class people, or upper class groups and lower class groups, they can act as negative reference groups for each other. Thus, they act as means of means of what we call as social control also. Then finally, this social stratification, it is a controlling effect on the shady world, because we believe that class stratification has social control functions. Even in the shady world of gamblers and in the underworld of lower criminals, black marketers, rectors, smugglers, etc., the legitimate class, the legitimate class structure has to be responsible, and they know that money is not substitute. Money is not substitute for prestige, but only a sort of compensation for what we call as renouncing it. Compensation for renouncing it. Hence, instead of continuing in a profitable shady career, such people, they want to gain responsibility for their money and for their children. They try to enter legitimate fields. They try to enter legitimate fields and become what we call as the philanthropists and patrons of arts. Thus, the legitimate class structure continues to attract the shady classes and the underworld. This attraction, it exerts a social control functions. So, with this we continued, we discussed the concept, the characteristics, and mainly the functions of social stratification. Thank you.